Dear friends, welcome to another episode of the Soldier's Journal. In today's video, we're going to discuss a recent statement by President Donald Trump announcing the total shutdown of the airspace over Venezuela and nearby regions. Is something finally about to happen? On Saturday, November 29, Trump posted on his social media accounts that Venezuelan airspace was officially closed. In his message, he warned that all aircraft should consider flights over Venezuela and surrounding areas prohibited, including pilots, airlines, drug traffickers, and human traffickers. Although the United States has no authority to impose rules over Venezuela's airspace, this type of announcement has an immediate impact on international travel, commercial routes, and of course, increases pressure on Nicolas Maduro's government. The move adds to a series of coordinated actions taken by the Trump administration to weaken the regime and target the drug trafficking networks operating in the country. Trump also brought up the possibility of direct attacks against targets inside Venezuelan territory, which would increase the risk of a military confrontation far beyond anti-trafficking operations. Many analysts believe that one of Trump's goals is to remove Maduro from power and replace him with a government more aligned with the U.S., possibly led by Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez, the latter considered by many to be the true winner of the 2024 elections, which Maduro is accused of rigging. Before Trump's announcement, the U.S. had already issued 2 NOTAMs related to the airspace over Venezuela and Puerto Rico. A NOTAM doesn't shut down airspace, it simply warns that the region poses risks to aviation. Even so, in response to these alerts, airlines such as GOL, TAP, and Iberia suspended their flights to Venezuela, deeply angering the Maduro government, which then revoked the licenses of those companies to operate in the country. Trump's announcement has not yet been officially backed by the Pentagon, which has not released any formal order closing that airspace. There is also no information on what the U.S. would do if civilian aircraft continue to fly in the area. In open conflict situations, such as what's happening in Ukraine, a total airspace shutdown is common, since any aircraft could be shot down. But that is not the current scenario in Venezuela, at least not for now. For this reason, some experts suggest that Trump's statement may be an initial step toward the ground attacks he has been promising against targets in the country. Such attacks would require American aircraft, fighters, and bombers to fly through Venezuelan airspace. Therefore, completely closing the area would be an important measure to reduce the risk of collateral damage to civilian aircraft. Another fact reinforcing this possibility is the recent activation of a new military radar in Trinidad and Tobago, an island located just 15 kilometers or 9 miles from Venezuela's coast. The local government reportedly opened ports and airports to U.S. military aircraft and vessels and allowed the installation of radar systems on its territory, a strategic position that gives the U.S. direct visibility over any Venezuelan military aircraft entering the Caribbean from the mainland. When analyzing this situation, we cannot forget that the United States already maintains a significant military presence in the Caribbean, officially under the justification of fighting drug trafficking. However, everything indicates that the real target is the Maduro regime. The Trump administration has stated that some units of the Venezuelan armed forces, allegedly benefiting from trafficking, could become potential targets, which keeps the possibility of military action to neutralize these forces on the radar of U.S. authorities. It's important to emphasize, the pressure on Maduro is not being framed solely as a fight against drug trafficking. Trump himself has repeatedly stated that the ultimate goal is Maduro's removal from power. According to the Washington Post, there was recently a phone call between Trump and Maduro to discuss the possibility of a meeting, although no details were released. Moves like this, unusual and unexpected, can be interpreted as either an attempt to open a dialogue or as a strategy to destabilize the regime, creating confusion among its supporters and possibly pushing internal factions to act on their own, fearing they might lose privileges if an agreement is reached. Finally, Brazil, which shares a long border with Venezuela, will be one of the countries most immediately affected by any U.S. policy toward Caracas. Combining an airspace shutdown with military operations could accelerate the already massive flow of Venezuelan refugees entering Brazil. In fact, the Venezuelan crisis has already caused a major exodus in recent years, something likely to worsen if a direct conflict breaks out. Additionally, the movement of Venezuelan armed forces toward the Amazon, where a potential shift of trafficking routes into Brazilian territory would represent a direct risk to regional security. For this reason, Brazil would need to reinforce its military presence along the border, not only to contain potential threats, but also to maintain stability in an already volatile region prone to conflict. What's at stake goes far beyond the fight against drug trafficking. This is a geopolitical struggle for influence in Latin America. Trump's attempt to remove Maduro can be seen as part of a broader strategy to isolate Venezuela and weaken the countries supporting it, including Cuba, Russia, and China. Trump's decision to declare Venezuelan airspace closed remains surrounded by uncertainty. As mentioned, there is still no official Pentagon notice explaining what will be done regarding aircraft that violate the area. Even so, the threats of military action further elevate tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela and strengthen scenarios that include the possibility of direct American attacks on Venezuelan territory. For Brazil, which shares a long border with Venezuela, the situation demands heightened vigilance. The crisis could escalate and affect national security and stability in the northern region. For Venezuela, it is yet another sign that a conflict may be approaching quickly. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the unfolding of this tense standoff between the U.S. and Venezuela.